What's going on, guys? JPA Trades here. Just getting to do our weekly recap video about all the trades we did this week. Before we get started, got the channel members. Looks like you guys want to see the high versus low probability setups. So once this voting gets done today, I'm going to start working on that video and should be out later this week. So thanks for everybody that joined the channel members. And if you're interested, just feel free to join. But let's get into it. We're going to do, I guess, best ideas to worst ideas. So Friday was a really good day for Amazon. I know if you were following me on Twitter, I said, hey, pre-market told the story. And I'm going to tell you what I was looking at here. So let's just go to Amazon. And we'll talk about the calls. How right off open, we bought these Amazon 129 calls for 0.4. So if you remember on Friday, the non-payroll came out for employment rate. So Amazon and SPY were both spiking in the morning, and then they dipped back down. And what we're going to go ahead and see here is okay, well, what made us want to take that play? So July 7th, 9:31 in the morning. So just go here, July 7th, 9:31, right in the beginning there of the day. Had that big long wick up and down because it was in the pre-market 130 plus. So for a chance to get the 129s, I figured it was worth it. So we saw that there was a lot of just kind of consolidation action here, and I'll just highlight it to make it a little bit easier to see. So we had all kinds of stuff just going on in there in the 128 range. And you can kind of also see there was a gap down at 129. So there's just kind of a lot of stuff going on. But in reality, you can kind of just look at the previous day's range. And it was kind of 128 to 127.4. And then you just want to see where it's tightest. So what I'm saying here is, here's that nice tight range here. And we could just make it a little bit more so you can see the numbers. So 128.72. And then 128.31. So you had about a 50-cent range there. So the reason that I liked the 129s for so cheap, and I just used the limit order, was, well, we saw it was 130 plus just right off the bat in the morning. So you know that those calls can go to at least $1. So when you have an opportunity to kind of, hey, the risk reward is there, and if I just get the quick bounce, I'll be okay. And that's kind of what happened is, so you'll see these, and then almost immediately they were 75 cents in the money at 9:33, so 2 minutes later, and a couple people I know were worried. They were like, well, how do I get in? And on Fridays, you got to be kind of extra careful, which is why, here's the wick. So you know it was a really crazy open. You had under 40 cents down to about 38 cents, 35 cents, all the way up to 78 cents in the same candle. So on Fridays, you really want to be using those limit orders so you can kind of jump in, jump out. You can go really, really quick on Fridays, and that's why normally it's like, hey, I need to tell you that strike price, because if you put it too high and you just buy it, you're going to be in there at 80 cents. It's not going to be so good. Even the next candle, 45 cents to 70 cents. So it's really, really dynamic in the morning. So you got to find those ranges where it can work. And if this wasn't a Friday, I might not have taken that trade just based solely on the previous day's levels. But that opening response, those numbers where it was 130 plus, you know that someone wanted to buy off that news. And it still held higher, but we had that sell-off at the end of the day. But when you're looking at 0 days to expiry, you just want to be in and out, quick and dirty, get your money and get out of there. Because if we were looking for kind of a longer time frame buy, we can kind of get off the 10 minutes, look at an hour or so, and you can still see that this same range is being respected. It's just deeper, so it's 127. And same thing where you want to get out, and it's probably pretty darn close. So 131, we hit a high on Friday of 131. So within about a 50-cent range where Amazon just kind of bouncing up and down, and you can kind of just play it. So you could just bing, 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 and you could just make your money the whole way along there. But you got to be quick, and you got to know your time frames. If you're buying monthlies, there's not going to be a lot of profit to get made there. But if you're buying 0 days to expiry, you're going to be sitting pretty good. And let's just clear all these. And I'll show you where I kind of took my profits, and it was actually a little bit early. I know I talked about the paper hands I had. So I also said if we can just get pre-market highs on Amazon, that's what I wanted to see. So let's see if I can see Amazon. Yeah, so still holding Amazon. I want to see pre-market highs. So You know how I talk about, hey, here's these wicks going on, respect the wicks. So that wick up on Amazon and pre-market was like, what, 130 point something. So that's about where my sell was. So it's like, okay, my move came, it got what I wanted, and that's all the more I need. So let's see if I can add on non-regular trading hours. So there we go. And here's 8:40 in the morning, 8:30 in the morning. So 129.93, hit it again. I sold it there because it could either broke out or broke down. Decided to break up, of course, but I was pretty happy with my sell, getting 130% profits. That was really, really good. I thought it was a pretty clean trade, and it's something you can kind of watch yourself for next time. So just the big play on this one was, hey, here's that tight pocketed range, just right there where a lot of activity happened. Here's kind of after hours here. I don't necessarily like to have this on for my regular charting, but for pre-market on news, it's pretty useful. So we'll go ahead and turn it back off just so you can see, once again, it's nice and clean in there. So AMD, I had a good one myself, and then had a not so good one for the swing. We'll do the daily one just to kind of cover what we were talking about again. So the daily option we took for AMD was these 114s. Took those around 11 o'clock. So July 7th, kind of right in here, same thing again. Nice, really tight, packed in consolidation. Oh, and what's that? Another wick and another tight consolidation. So probably, so there, kind of again, you're on your 0 day to expiry, so it's all tight, but you can kind of see a lot of motions happening on there. So you just want to see where they're kind of bunched up and consolidating, and there's a big uptrend going on in the day for AMD going and continuing. So I just like to find spots where there's a lot of activity happening and concentrated, as opposed to where there's like here you have kind of your flags and stuff, but you want to find just a spot where you can pick your shots and go. So let's remove all these and just go just to the day itself. Yep. So right about here. So big breakout for AMD along with everything else in the morning. Just kind of had that straight shot up. Said, well, it could probably keep going. So here was our 113.38 is where it went down to. So nice consolidation range. I was prepared to buy lower if it happened. So here's where I was interested in, was this range here. Happened to get lucky and catch that wick down there. Rode them up to in the money and then took my profits and then big happy. It did the same thing. Took profits a little bit early because there's that top wick here. Say, okay, I'll sell out AMD. No big deal. Could have got a little bit more, but can't complain. Almost got the top. So that's kind of what I'm saying. 0 days to expiry. You don't really have a lot of room for error. You got to kind of be, air quotes, perfect. But you just got to see where the value is at. If they're giving you a chance to buy options that would have been $2 in the money for 40 cents, it's probably worth the risk reward. If they're giving you a chance to buy options for $1 that were only $1 in the money, kind of a little bit more risk there. The reward's a little bit lower. Might not be something you want to do. So now let's talk about what we did wrong this week, which was those AMD 118 calls. So right here, bought AMD 118 calls for Friday on the 5th, so right out of the holiday. So right here, so I saw this huge candle up in the morning, and let's pretend that little graph over there didn't exist. So we're looking at a pretty nice uptrend going for AMD up until this point. So moving on its way up, and then it looked like we had a flag here breakout, which we did. So jumped out of that flag and says, okay, it looks like we can go now. So let's go back to our longer time frame, like I was saying, and say, okay, well, what comes if we can break out of there? Well, here's that big gap down. And we had a chance for 119 to go in the money, but we kind of just got rejected right off that wick. So, like I said, go back to the 10 minute just so I can talk about that breakout. So we saw the breakout happen, and it was going back down towards the top of that flag. So I said, all right, we're the shot here to grab it. Could just bounce back off and continue the breakout again. Unfortunately, we were wrong. We chased the breakout, kind of got caught. That's why I usually like to buy the dip. I don't necessarily like to buy the breakout, but Nvidia just was so hot lately, along with other semis. I was like, well, if that breakout keeps going, and AMD was 130 a few weeks ago, it seemed like the risk reward was there. Unfortunately for this one, it failed, went back under the flag, and then gapped down, and we were just kind of the whole way out of luck. So that one was really, really unfortunate. I still like the uptrend, and it kind of held following on Friday where it started bouncing back up again until that sell-off. So that was just an unfortunate move. But hopefully this little lesson helped you guys. Like I said, channel members voting ends today. So whatever looks like it's going to be high versus low probability setup. So if you want to see a little bit more deep dive education, I'm going to try to tailor these to you guys. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. We'll see you next time.